What is up, everyone? Welcome back to the podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in. Today's guest is a very special guest, very inspirational figure to me. It's Jenna Moreci. She's a writer, YouTuber, and yeah, she's helped me a lot along my journey. This is our second conversation. I'll put a link to our first one in the description section. I would heavily encourage you to go and check out her YouTube channel. The link is going to be in the description. Also, check out her books. She's a great author. She's got a lot of value to offer for anybody who's doing an entrepreneurial journey, something creative. I would really highly recommend you check her out. She's also on Instagram. All those links are in the description. Let me know who you want me to have as a guest on the next episode, and I will see you all very soon. Peace. Jenna, to pick up on what you were just saying about your author income is like matched or greater than like what you were earning in your previous jobs. Like, do and especially when the people tell you, you'll be fucking crazy to think that will ever happen. And that,
Right.
can you tell me what's the satisfaction like for you right now?
It's pretty good. Like literally I've wanted to be an author my entire life. Like ever since I was 6, I remember the moment distinctly. So this is what I've wanted my whole life. And my whole life, people were like, that's very sweet. That's very precious, but you're never going to make money off of it. And I understand, because once you research the industry, the average traditionally published debut novel, there's lots of stats that are thrown around, but the most reliable stats that I saw was that the average traditionally published debut novel gets a $5,000 to $15,000 advance for 2 years. So you're getting paid for your book to be published for 2 years, and you're getting paid $5,000 to $15,000. And that's not even close to being, a livable wage. So I do understand where people are coming from when they say you can't make this a career. But there's, obviously there's always the outliers, and there's always, you see the famous writers and you think, oh, but I can be that. And at least when you're younger and a little bit more naive. Then when I became older and I started researching it more, I made my expectations. I lowered my expectations to make them more realistic, And my goal, since I decided to self-publish my book, was I just want to match, with my first book, I just want to match what traditionally published authors make. I just want to prove that a self-published book can be as successful as a traditionally published book. And I did that with my first book. I surpassed the average traditionally published book. And I was really proud, because that was more than I had expected to do. But there were still people who were like, yeah, that's great and all, but it's still not, a livable wage. It's like surpassing $15,000, you still can't, make a life off of that, pretty much. So when I got to my second book, I had new goals in mind, higher goals. And my goal at that time was to just match what I made as a stockbroker. And I thought that was, a lofty goal, but, aim high. And I surpassed that amount about halfway through the year. And I was like, holy shit, I didn't see it coming. So then I said, okay, since we've already met that goal, I'm going to try and match what I made as an accountant, because first I worked as a stockbroker, then as an accountant, and I made more money as an accountant. And then we matched that figure at the start of this quarter. So we had 3 more months worth of income to contribute to that. And now this year I'm officially making more money as an author than I did ever working in finance. And I mean, it just feels amazing, because it's my second book, and it's literally something that people say, not only it won't happen quickly, it just won't happen ever. Everyone's like, it's impossible. It just will never happen. And it's crazy to me, because I just didn't expect to be in this position so soon, let alone ever. I was like, totally content with the idea of I'm just gonna, do this as a side gig. I never thought it would become this big pretty much. So I'm very proud and I'm very happy. And there's definitely a little bit of like satisfaction of proving a lot of people wrong, you know, especially everyone that I used to work with in finance. You know, you're an adult and you're like, I'm writing a book, and they're like, oh, that's cute, you know. And so now it's like, buy it, bitch. Everyone else is, you know. So there's that satisfaction there. And I know like it sounds totally petty, and it is. I am 100% aware of that. But I'm constantly telling writers when they tell me that no one believes in them, I'm like, use it as fuel, okay? Like use it to fuel you. Be petty for a minute. Just tell yourself, I have to prove these people wrong, because that can motivate. That can really make you work your ass off. And then when you do prove them wrong, it feels real good. Let me tell you.
Yo, you know what's so funny is like I'm at obviously I haven't published any of my books, but like I'm with my own business. I got to the point that I've made way more money than I used when I was working in other jobs, and like I thought, I know, right? And I whisper about it now because sometimes I feel like it's too good to be true. And you know,
Right.
I took a break from making content like for YouTube channel, for the podcast, everything, and it's like I had to let it all sink in. I felt like I was dreaming, and you know, I'd wake up and be like, I don't have to drive anywhere. There's no traffic. I can go to yoga and I can walk my dogs. Fuck, I feel like I'm dreaming. And
Right.
what was I gonna say? Yeah, that whole thing about everyone told me, coaches or you know, whatever I wanted to do, meditation teacher, all this other stuff, they were like, they don't earn much money. You're gonna have to drive around from place to place and just frantically try and get a little bit here, a little bit there. And you know, I love that you brought up the thing about the outliers, because you know, when I was a bit younger, I was looking at authors, interviews, rappers, producers. Like I was looking at all of these people's interviews, and they all said the same thing. They were like, "I just did it because I liked it. I didn't like do it because I thought one day I'm going to be famous and I'm going to be rich." And I was like, "Shit, me too. Like I like this." And what do you think it is about society that like people actively discourage you? I've got my own ideas on this, but I'm really interested on your opinion. Like, what is it? What do you think it is about people that they want to actively stop you from following this kind of thing?
Well, first I wanted to touch on the fact that a lot of these outliers say they got into it because they like it and not to get famous. I think the reason that tends to work out like that the people who like it do really, really well, because I got into writing because this has been my lifelong passion. And when I started writing my first novel, I was very realistic about the fact that I'm not going to be famous. And, I may only sell 1,000 novels, and because that's the norm. That is 90% of the industry, but I was doing it because I liked it and I had a story that I was passionate about, and this is what I wanted to do. And I didn't want to live my life not doing something that made me happy. And I think that kind of authenticity translates into your work. If you are authentic and you care about what you're doing, it shows, and I think that the people who are just trying to get famous, there's a lack of authenticity. People who are just trying to do what they think other people want them to do, you can kind of see it. Like it seeps through. Even if you can't put your finger on it, it's evident, And so I think that when you are like that in whatever you're doing, you have worse odds of becoming successful. And I think the people who are doing it because they're passionate, they are more authentic. They are kind of like living their truth. And I think people enjoy that, and it's refreshing. And it's different because I do think most people are kind of scared and they're stuck kind of like following the trends and following the norms and struggle to think for themselves. And that's what most people are used to. And so when you see someone who doesn't give a fuck and they're just doing what they love, it's refreshing and it stands out, which kind of leads into your question. I think that the reason people discourage those who have unrealistic dreams or goals, I think that it comes from a place, one, of we're all kind of like our wings are clipped from a very young age. Most of us, we all experience sort of that point in life where you're like, I want to be a princess, and someone finally tells you that's not going to happen, you know? And so I think everyone at some point, the child within them dies, and they learn about the cruel realities of the world, and they kind of feel like, fuck, I'm stuck being boring for the rest of my life, and my life is gonna suck, and I'm gonna be a cog in someone else's machine forever. And they see someone who kind of still has the child, who's like optimistic and, you know, going for it and being different. And it's sort of like a, well, if I gotta suffer and be in this place of hating my life, you do too. You know, I gotta drag you down, because it's not fair that you're happy. Like, it's true. I really do think it's that. It's like, if I don't get to be happy, you don't get to be happy either. I really, and even if they're not thinking that at the time, I think that's the place it comes from. You know, and of course there are people who are just being realistic. Like, if someone you know who can't carry a tune and is like the worst singer you've ever heard is like, I'm going to be a singer, then there's going to be people who are like, think about that one. You know, there are those situations, but when you see someone who is, you know, genuinely has a passion and has a lot of promise in whatever they're pursuing, and you're still like, oh, it's never going to amount to anything. I think that comes from a place of they're repeating what they had heard their whole life. They're repeating what everyone had told them. And so they're like, well, if I can't amount to anything, neither can you. They told me that I could never do it, so you can't do it either. They're just kind of, it's like, if I got to be in this place, so do you. And I think that's where it comes from. And I think that you kind of have to break the cycle at some point. Like, everyone's going to tell you this, and at some point you have to decide whether what you care about more, other people's expectations or your own expectations. You know, like, the way I saw writing is, this is my book, this is my life, fuck you and all of your unhappiness. It's not my problem. At least, even if I do fail, at least I know that I tried, you know, like I gave it a shot, and I can fail knowing, oh, well, you know, they were right, but I can go to bed at night, you know, knowing that I gave it a shot, and not wondering, you know, whether or not it would have come to something.
Yeah, that's the one I can't live with. You know, I can live with all the dumb shit I've done in the past, and I've done a lot of it. You know, we all have. That's fine, but I can't live like I should have told one of the girls, oh yeah, you know, I really loved you, and you know what, could have worked out. I didn't say it because I was up my own ass. Oh, you're too cool for that. I've regretted, man. Maybe it could have happened. I don't know. And that's the shit that I don't want to have. I don't want to have them things unsaid or unwritten or unput out on the podcast, whatever it is. Like, you know, here's another thing, right? You saying, you do this too. You use the fuck yous as a motivation, right? So, you know, people shitting on your dreams all the time. Oh, you never do it. You're never going to be this. You're never going to be that. And, you know, I just said, okay, I can make peace with the fact that you don't like what I'm doing, but I won't use it as like, oh, you know, I want you to support me. I just started telling, because everyone, it's like a common theme for me. Everyone kept saying, you need to stop doing this. We don't like what you're saying. Don't talk bad about your elders, blah, blah, blah. Now, like, you know what? That's the motivation. That for me, that was the shit in the beginning. Because my content in the beginning was like, I think it's just like a raw expression of, I'm tired of shutting my mouth, and here it all is for the world to hear. And in the beginning, that was great fuel. And over time, the fuel has changed for me dramatically, because those fuck yous have turned into thank yous. But like, how has your fuel changed over time through the journey?
Well, it's changed a lot, because when I started my first book, the only person who was supportive of me was Cliff, my fiance. And he was the only person who believed in me. And it was nice to have that support, because I had never had it my entire life. But I had gotten to a point where I I didn't need support. I mean, I really appreciated it from Cliff to have someone that I could talk about writing with, but I had gotten to a point where it's like, I'm doing this for me. You don't have to support me. I support myself. But Cliff was like my little cheerleader, and that definitely made the process easier. And he would talk about it with me, and he'd be like, we're going to prove everyone wrong one day. You know, one day, you know, this book is going to come out. It's really great. You're talented, and everyone's going to be eating their words. And so for me, the fuel very much from the start was like, you know, you have to take a negative and turn it into a positive. So anytime there was a naysayer telling me that I couldn't do it, I just turned it around as motivation. Like, this is another person I'm going to prove wrong. This is another person where I'm going to relish their face once the book comes out and sells. And that also puts a little bit of pressure. Like there's this pressure to, you know, it has to do well. It has to sell this number of copies, because I'm not doing this for myself I'm doing it for myself, but it's not just for me. It's about everyone who's ever told me I couldn't do it. And I think when you first get started, that kind of pressure can actually be a good thing, because whenever you first start any new path, it's the hardest it's ever going to be. It's going to be grueling. You're going to doubt yourself a lot. There were days that I would just cry and be like, I'm a horrible writer. I don't know why I'm doing this. I'm terrible. And that pressure of, you know, you're letting them win, you know, that you're proving them all right now, that pressure kept me going. And so once the first book came out and it sold way better than my goals, and it outperformed the average traditional debut, once that happened, that pressure was gone, because I had already proved all these people wrong. And all these people who had once kind of been against me, they were now on my team. And I wasn't looking for that. Like, I never cared if they got on my team. But because they were all like, wow, like, you actually did it, that pressure was released. And so with my second book, it was solely fueled by passion. There was no outside, you know, you have to do it, you have to prove everyone wrong feeling. So my motivation now, I feel like I've already achieved everything that I set out to achieve initially. I already proved these people wrong. I'm already making writing a career. I made it a career much faster than I had expected. And now I'm making more money doing this than I did in finance. So I feel like I have nothing to prove. So at this point, it's all about me. It's all about whatever the hell I want to do. And it's all about my passion for the art and my passion for the stories. And I personally think, I think some people would be like, it should have been that way from the beginning. But I disagree, because like I said, when you first get started, your passion is so overwhelmed by insecurity and by fear and doubt that it helps to have something else. It helps to have, you know, maybe a little bit of pettiness to be like, you can't quit now, because then they win, bitch. Like, you have to keep going. And so now that I've sort of, I don't know, I can let go of the pettiness element. I'm at a point where I'm much more confident in my writing. I don't doubt myself nearly as much. I'm not insecure about my writing anymore. So hold on one second. I was getting a phone call. So I'm at a point where passion can be the sole thing fueling me, because I don't need that additional pressure to keep me going, because I don't have those issues that I had when I first got started. I'm much more confident. So passion is enough. It's enough for me to move forward. And so, and it's more pleasant now, obviously, writing, because I don't have days where I'm crying and like, oh my gosh, I suck, you know, but that's normal when you first get started. But further down the line, you feel better about yourself, and you have that validation. You have people who like your books, and you have people who support your work and everything. So I'm in a much more comfortable place pretty much right now.
I just love your realness, Jenna, because there's, you know, like you said, people will say like, oh, you shouldn't do it for those reasons, and you should be like that from the beginning. But you know what, dude, I'm 100% in the same boat as you. I think in the beginning, if I hadn't had them people in my head saying like, you know, recalling all of these things that had been said, I probably would have given, you know, fuck it, I ain't got enough skin in the game right now, man. Just whatever. Mm-hmm. I'd take the job, whatever. And I think this is it's one of them dream killers, right? Like a lot of people are like, oh well, I don't have a strong enough reason to do it, so I shouldn't bother at all. And you know, it's so sad, but I met hundreds and hundreds of talented motherfuckers who are just, you know, either the drawing or singing, writing, dancing, something they really love. And it's like, oh, I'm not going to pursue it because of, and then they just throw the excuses out there. And this is something I've come into quite recently, which is like cultivating my circle to reflect where I want to be in the future, as opposed to like, we'll just keep everyone friendly because I don't want to make any enemies. Like, you know, I wanted to ask you, like, what do you look for in the friend circle or the people that you want to keep around you to help you keep the mindset that you've got, or like to get to where you want to be? Because, you know, like, can't have loads of naysayers around you, right?
Right. For me, the most important things are loyalty and it was on the tip of my tongue. Authenticity. Because especially, I mean, like, in terms of YouTube as a whole, my channel is small, you know, but in terms of the community I'm in, it's big. I have about 150,000 subscribers, and I get literally hundreds to sometimes thousands of contacts a day, you know, messages, comments, things like that. And, you know, obviously I really appreciate all the support that I receive, but I do get a lot of messages from people who want to be friends, and it becomes clear right away that they want to be friends with, you know, Jenna on YouTube, not me as a person. And the, you know, person I am on YouTube is me. I keep it real, but I also don't film in the middle of me having an anxiety attack. I also don't film in the middle of a depressive episode. You know what I mean? Like, you only get to see one side of me. I'm a multifaceted person like everyone else. And so I'll get lots of people who contact me and they want to be friends with, you know, the cyborg queen. They want to be friends with just the YouTube version. And it's usually because they want me to help them in some way, or they want to be able to pick my brain about writing. And of course, I've had people who befriended me hoping that I would promote their YouTube channel or that I would promote their book or things like that. And when it first started happening, I didn't think I was big enough for that to happen to me. I was like, you know, my channel at the time, like, oh, it has 50,000 subscribers. I'm not a big deal. This isn't going to happen to me. But it happened a bunch. And it was, you know, really kind of heartbreaking, because I'm not really good at making friends. I'm kind of socially awkward. And if I let someone into my friendship circle, it's because, you know, for me, it's like I'm taking a risk, you know, I'm taking a chance, and I'm trusting you to be loyal. And so to have a few people kind of screw me over because they wanted publicity, you know, that sort of changed the way I viewed making friends within the writing community. So now I'm much more particular, and I'm much more cautious, and I will just talk to someone for months and months before I even consider them an acquaintance or a friend. You know, I kind of let it gestate and see, you know, what their intentions are. And I think some people might think that's overkill, but you know, when you've lived through what I lived through, you kind of have to do that. And so now I think a big thing for me is it's a lot easier for me to tell when people are being authentic, when they like me for me and all of my quirks and all my problems, and, you know, for me as a flawed person and not just hello everybody on YouTube. It's easier to tell when that's the case. And being supportive and loyal, and, you know, all of my friends, when I have an accomplishment, it's a huge celebration, and they're like, congratulations, Jenna. Like, we're so proud of you. No one in my circle is a naysayer, but at the same time, you know, if I have a problem with my writing, they're going to tell me, like, this scene sucks. You got to fix it. Like, they're supportive, but real. They're honest. They'll tell me if I'm fucking up. And that's another thing, an easy way to tell if someone's being authentic or not is because there are a lot of people who they'll just agree with everything I say, and it's like, you're allowed to have your own opinion. Like, we can disagree on stuff. It's cool, you know, and when someone just agrees with everything I say, I can tell, you know, they're not being authentic. There's no way we have that much in common. So, my circle right now is very small, but it's filled with people that like I genuinely trust, and people who stuck it out and were cool with me being cautious at first, and we're all very supportive of one another. And another big thing is no one in my circle ever asks me to promote them. They never ask me to share anything. They don't ask me for favors that they know I could do for them, because they're all writers and half of them are on YouTube. Never ask me to boost their channels or anything like that. And that for me is a big deal because, you know, a year ago, that wasn't the case. There was a lot of people like, oh, can you share my videos? Can you tell people to subscribe to me? And can you tell people that we're friends and stuff? And now, and it's like, wow, you're not subtle at all. And now it's not that way. And when I do promote my friends because I believe in their work and I believe in their channels, but it's never requested. And if I do it, they write me like, oh my gosh, Jenna, I'm so surprised. Thank you. I appreciate it. It's never an expectation. So it's probably not the standards most people have in friendships, but for me, being in a different position, you know, this stuff is really important to me. So I just like to make sure that people actually like me and not, you know, the numbers that I'm bringing in.
You know what is, I think this is regardless of where anyone is in life, whether you're doing something in the public eye or not, I think it's just so important to have a cultivated friend circle. Like, I was about to say cactus for some reason, I don't know why. Not a cactus, like a rose bush, more like, not a fucking cactus. You know, when you like trimming, I've never done it in real life, but I haven't done it virtually either. What the fuck is wrong with me? I'm coming out with weird shit today. You know, like how you cultivate a plant, right? Like, you know, make sure the soil's all right and then the roots grow. And I don't know dick about gardening. I don't know why I picked that analogy, but whatever. It's like a carefully cultivated plant. And you're like, right, I want this to be beautiful. They get those pesticides out of here. We don't want the bugs eating the fruit and all that. And I think for everyone, like for me, definitely, you know, being around the kinds of people that are helping me to make sure the soil's nice and we got enough nutrients. We water each other and we help each other grow. And I think that's such a beautiful thing, regardless of where you are in your journey and what's going on for you. I think, and you know, we've talked in the last podcast, we talked a bit about mental health. And I think for anyone who has a mental health challenge, regardless of what it is, your friend circle is either going to make it better or worse. And unfortunately, a lot of us are really fucking nice. Like a lot of us who are like, you know, I have nice intentions. I'm a unicorn. Let's give out the good vibes. And other people, they're not like that. You know, some people out there like, let me take some of that and here's my shit. Then dump that on you and make you feel worse. And, you know, I think for a lot of us, especially people who write, I don't know what it is about writing, but especially people who write, we got a lot in here. We got a lot that we think about. Overthinking, analysis of the future. What do they think? Is that going to happen? Fucking hell, I'm not sure. There's a lot of doubt. The last thing you need is a fucking negative Nancy or a Debbie Downer around you all the damn time. You shouldn't do that. How do you know it's going to work? It's horrible.
Almost all of my friends are, I'm thinking about it. Yeah, almost all of my friends are writers. And that helps because none of us are going to tell the other, like, you should quit writing, you know, because we're all doing it, you know, and we're all at different stages. Like one of my friends is multi-published. I think she's on like her 4th book, and one of them is querying and she's going the traditional route. And it's like, everyone's in a different place and at a different point in their journey. And because we're all writers, we all understand the struggle, and we all understand, like I can vent to my writer friends about the beta reader process, and they'll understand. But if I were to vent to someone who's outside of the writing community, you know, halfway through it, they'll be like, wait a second, what is a beta reader? Like they won't be able to follow anything. So it's helpful, I think, to have friends who are like-minded in that way, but not to the point where it's like I don't want a naysayer or a Debbie Downer, but I also want someone who's going to I'm going to show them a scene and ask for feedback, and they're not just going to be like, it's perfect, unless it really is. You know, if it's perfect, I want to know and I want to hear it. But but if it's not, I want you to say this part right here is fucked up. And that's what I like about my friends, is that I show them my work, and all of my friends, well, not all of them, but like half of my friends are my critique partners as well. And they will be like, this sentence doesn't make sense. Fix this one. And they'll be like, I read this sentence in someone else's voice, so you need to add a dialogue tag, you know, like they keep it real. So I know that when they do praise my work and when they do praise me, it's authentic, because they'll also tell me when something isn't working. They'll say it nicely, but the point is they'll say it, because I had friends in the past who would not. And I've also had friends in the past who would just tell me, you know, quit writing. It's not worth your time, you know. We're not friends anymore. So.
You know what? By the way, there is like a decent lag going on here. So if it's quiet between us talking, that's probably why.
Oh, it's fine.
Okay, so there's another thing that I wanted to ask you about, right? Nowadays, this whole thing about entrepreneurial journey and just go and fucking do it and all of this other stuff. I love it personally. I think it's great. And, you know, it's encouraging people like me who would otherwise be an idiot doing nothing and chilling all the time to actually get off my fucking ass and do something, which is, it's been phenomenal. But there's always a but when I say stuff like that. I feel like there's an undercurrent of bullshit. I don't know how else to explain it, but there's quite a lot of that. Like, have you seen examples of that as well?
Oh yeah, I've seen a lot of examples of that. I think, especially in writing, the biggest one, and I want to preface this by saying that it makes sense for some writers and specifically some genres of writing, but especially in self-publishing, it's becoming less of a taboo to be self-published, because a lot of self-published authors are doing really well. There are self-published authors who make 6 figures a year, and it's becoming a much more viable option. There are self-published authors who are getting movie deals and things like that. So I don't experience a ton of taboo with that. I'm sure some people still do, but it's definitely not as frowned upon as it used to be. But one thing that I see a lot of is self-published authors saying, I made it by what I refer to as pump and dumping, which is where you pump out a shit ton of books and then you just dump them online and you pump them out as quickly as possible. And I see people pumping out 6 books a year or something like that. And I see a lot of people like, you know, how to write a book in 3 months, how to write and publish. That should be thrown in there. How to write and publish a book in 3 months, how to write and publish a book in 6 months, things like that. And I think for certain genres that are much shorter, or novellas, which have a much smaller word count, it's maybe possible. But for a full-length novel, especially in genre fiction, like science fiction or fantasy, genres that are much longer, there's no way you can write a quality novel and edit it and do beta readers and market it and publish it in a few months. And because of that, we see a lot of pump and dumpers releasing all these books, and yeah, they're jumping it out, they're giving it a good price, and they're getting a swell of people to buy the books. But then the reviews are like, this book is really bad, there's lots of typos, there's lots of inconsistencies, it's not edited. And it's like, well, of course it's not edited, because the editing process can take 6 months, and you're saying you wrote this book in 3 months, so what the fuck happened, you know? And so I'm seeing a lot of bullshit in that sense. And like I said, there are definitely some writers and some genres that can pull this off, especially if the book is shorter. But for the most part, you know, 75% of the time it's bad advice and you're just putting out bad work, you know? And then no one is going to, what sustains an author is longevity, and what sustains an author is, you know, a loyal audience. And if you are constantly putting out bad books that are filled with typos that people are not sticking around to finish, you're never going to have a loyal audience, and you just have to pump and dump for the rest of your fucking life if you want to maintain this income. And so I don't think it's really good advice. I don't think it's business savvy, but it's really popular right now because of, you know, the entrepreneurial spirit. But it's and I agree, I like the entrepreneurial spirit. I consider myself an entrepreneur. But there's a much smarter way to do it without just quickly releasing crap, you know, like take your time, build an audience, put pride into your work. Don't just trend chase, write something you're passionate about, you know, get it edited for God's sakes, like at a minimum, just get the book edited. And if you put pride and effort into your work and you put a lot of effort into the marketing, you will have much better odds of sustaining a loyal audience that will stick around for the next book and the next book, so that the further along you go, you don't have to market as much because your name will sell the book. With pump and dumpers, the name is not going to sell the book. Again, except for the 25% where it works for them. But with that method, it's just not going to work. You know, it's bad advice, and you shouldn't do it.
I really like the term pump and dump, pump and dumping. Is that the rhyming? Yes, it's got me. But you know, I've seen. So you have entrepreneurs, and I'm gonna pick on one of them because he's got a sizable community following, but it's not to diss him or anything. Lewis Howes. I don't know if you've ever heard of him. He does. Okay, so he does this podcast called the School of Greatness podcast. I fucking love it. You know, he's had great guests on it, and I like the guy. I like what he talks about. It's great. However, he's encouraging a lot of that pump and dump shit. I remember he published this online course called that's it, How to Write a Book in 30 Days. And you know, exactly, that was exactly my reaction, because I thought to myself, right, Mr. Howes, yeah, you've got a massive community following, you're doing events, you're doing all of this other stuff, cool. Why encourage others? And it makes business sense, right? Like if you've got people that are looking up to you, like, oh, he said I can do it, bang, let's go. And he's coming at the angle from like, okay, position yourself as a subject matter authority by writing what you know, your experience on this topic, and then people will invite you to do events and blah, 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 blah.
Right.
I think it's a short-term approach. And like you said, you know, there's so many parallels from writing to the arts that you want to pursue, or your business. You're only going to be successful if you've got longevity and people actually buy into you for the quality of what you're doing. And I think it's just really important for all of us to acknowledge, like, yes, there are those things out there. You probably could bang out a book in a weekend. Fuck 30 days. You could probably do it in a weekend, but it most likely will be trash. Most likely you'll run yourself into the ground doing it. And, you know, who's going to benefit from that? The guy who charging you $1,500 to fucking do the course, and he walks you through the step-by-step. Here's chapter 1, chapter 10. It's like you're filling in a template. It's like, you know, one of them, what's it called? Complete your own adventure journeys or something like that. And I think there's a lot of that going around at the moment. And it does, like, personally for me, it doesn't really affect me, but it does annoy me to an extent where I'm just like, people are always looking for shortcuts to that. Like he is a very good example of what you could become if you stick with it. You really care about your content. You're putting out a lot of good stuff. You're putting out interviews and whatever it is. And yeah, you got to that point, but it took him a long time to get there. People are looking to shortcut the process and be like, right, I've written the book. Now I'm successful. And then you buy a bunch of followers. I don't know, whatever the process is, but what do you think we can do? That's not really what I want to ask. I don't really want to ask, like, what can we do about it? But, like, how do you think that will get sorted out, if ever it will?
I don't know if it ever will, mostly because, and this is so mean, it's true, people are lazy. They don't want to put in the work. And what I don't understand is if you are, like, looking at writing or anything creative, if you are getting into it, it's supposed to be because you're passionate about it. Because if you're getting into writing to become famous or rich, like, you're fucking stupid, because this is not the path for that. The odds are slim. And yes, like I said, I'm making more money writing than I did in finance. But that's not the norm. It's not normal for it to happen like that, especially this quickly. So I am always letting people know that yes, it's possible. Don't let the naysayers say it's impossible, because it's possible, but also know that I'm an outlier. I am not reflective of everyone. But a lot of people are really lazy, and I question why they want to. I think it's possible to write a first draft in 30 days. I think that if you work on it every day, you could probably do it. It'll probably suck, but that's okay. It's a first draft and you can edit it. I don't think it's possible to like draft and finish a really good book. Like, I mean, go through all the editing processes and everything in 30 days. I just don't, unless it's very short, like a short story. That is possible. What I don't understand is why someone would, if you're passionate about writing, why do you want to get it done in 30 days? You know what I mean? Like, I mean, don't get me wrong. I don't want to spend 7 years on my book. Like I don't want to waste my time, but I enjoy writing. Like I'm currently writing The Savior's Sister, which is the companion novel to The Savior's Champion. And I enjoy writing it, and I don't feel a need to get it done in 30 days because I'm having fun. It's fun for me. So I don't understand why this appeals to people. And when it does appeal to them, I usually assume they probably are in it for the wrong reasons. And they're probably, not only are they in it for the wrong reasons, but they're lazy, you know, because at the end of the day, how many of these people who have written a book in 30 days, how many of them are household names? Like, show me that list. And I'm not saying that none of them are. I've just never heard of them. And I think that says something, you know what I mean? Like, I think that right there proves a bit of a point, you know?
You know, it reminds me of rappers, right? You know, like these days you see these kids with the face tattoos and whatnot, and you know, yeah, they're just shouting about stuff and throwing up money and whatnot, and it's just got a very short shelf life. You know, if I'm very honest with you, I don't really listen to rap music that much anymore. But then you look at the classics, you know, like, not necessarily restricted to rap, but look at Michael Jackson. Can't really use Kanye West anymore. Whatever. You know, look at the body of work that Michael Jackson has put out. You know, Prince, Nas, Tupac, Dr. Dre. They've really spent a time honing the craft and putting their soul into it. My brother makes me laugh about this. When he makes soup sometimes, he's like, I said to him, when's the soup going to be ready? He's like 9 hours boiling the shit. And he's like, listen, I'm trying to put some soul in the bitch. You can't rush the process. This is a creative thing. And it makes
That's like how it is when you make spaghetti sauce. Well, we call it, I'm Sicilian, we call it gravy. But yeah, it's like a 9-hour process, but it makes the flavors come out. But anyway, continue. That just reminded me of that.
It's very true. I'm Indian, right? So side note, my dad makes tea, Indian tea sometimes. And you know how on the gas cooker, you've got like the little round thing and the flames come out of it. He puts the tea, the saucepan right on the corner edge so that only one part like starts percolating. And you know, it takes like 5-6 hours. Something. I don't even drink the shit. I just I'll ask him like, why? And everyone who drinks Indian tea knows that it's a whole process. And I look at so many parallels with that, because it's a creative process, with writing, with these things that you want something proper to come out of it. You want an experience out of it, right? If someone threw the tea bag in there and said, hurry the fuck up, we got to get in the car, we're going to be late. It's not an experience. It's just, we're mailing it in. We got to do it quickly. It's like with the spaghetti sauce, right? If you get it out of the jar, it just tastes like sugar. It's horrible. But when you make it yourself, it's so satisfying, and you're really like, you're in it because it's an experience. And I feel like the same with, you know, when I used to watch your videos on like a playlist to get inspired, like, right, bitch, I'm about to dive into a 12-hour session right now. I'm going to do a lot of things today. Let me get in my right mindset. So I've got some of your videos in there. I've got some of the other people that I followed. And I'll have it on in the background while I'm doing things to get myself ready for. And that I used to look forward to. Like, it's going to be a long day, man. Got editing to do. I've got all of these other things to do. I'm going to give myself an experience so I can enjoy the process. And this is something that I know you do. You enjoy your process of the whole thing. And I want to know, like, expectation and, you know, looking forward at a certain point when, yeah, I'm only going to do this process because I'm going to get here with it. That's how you fuck the process up. That's how you know you're not really doing it for the right reasons. But what could you, let me pick my words, man. I don't know what's wrong with me lately. I'm not picking them right.
It's all good.
What words of like wisdom do you have for people who are like struggling to enjoy the process because something's getting them down with it?
Well, first of all, I think a lot of people forget to like take in the moment and realize like you're writing a book. You're writing a fucking book. Like that's not something, I mean, that's something a lot of people start and never finish. So right there, you are taking on this monumental task, and you should be proud of the fact that you are doing something that so many people aspire toward and so many people talk about, but never do. So right there should be some pride involved in it. I think people need to, especially if you're just getting started, I think you just need to accept the fact that you're gonna write some trash. Like some of what you're writing is gonna be great, and some of it is gonna be hot, flaming garbage. And you just need to, like, one of the reasons that I'm so confident now on my third book is that I fully expect when I'm doing my first draft, I fully expect to have to delete entire paragraphs. And I fully expect, like, I'll be writing my first draft and I'm like, this is probably is incoherent. There is a sentence that is a paragraph long, like this is crap. And because I have that expectation, when I go to edit it later, I'm always pleasantly surprised because I will think, yeah, this is probably trash, but whatever, it's getting on page. And I have that expectation that it's bad. I go to edit it and it's usually not bad. It's not good, but it's like salvageable. It's been a long time since I've had to delete an entire section. It's just, oh, there's actually some gems in here. There's some good stuff that I can work with. And so I think one way to make it enjoyable is to stop putting the pressure of perfection on yourself, because that's what the edit's for. Right now, you just got to get the words out and understand that they're gonna suck and they may disappoint you, but that's just life and that's part of the process. And you know what? Stephen King's first draft probably has a lot of garbage in there too. Like that's just how it goes. So that makes it a lot more enjoyable to release that pressure of perfection. And I think the part of the process that people hate the most is the edit. Like you have to edit it yourself before you ship it off to the professional edit. And both of those processes are painful in different ways. The self-edit is painful because you are seeing all of your mistakes like laid out in front of you and it makes you feel dumb. The professional edit is painful because you are sending them content that you have edited and made as perfect as you can make on your own, and then you're having a stranger say, "Ha, bitch, it still sucks," you know, like it's painful and it makes you feel even more dumb. And with my first book doing this stuff, I felt like everyone else. I felt like, oh my gosh, this is really embarrassing. I'm so bad, blah, blah, blah. With my second book and my third book, I didn't feel that way at all. And I think what changed my mentality was that watching the transformation, watching the growth, it made me feel really proud of myself. So when I would look at a sentence that I had written 6 months ago and I was able to fix it and make it perfect, it made me feel really proud. Like, wow, I've gotten like really good. I've grown as a writer. Like, look at me go. Like, I feel like if you look at the editing process, both the self-edit and the professional edit, as look at how far I've come, look at all these mistakes that I didn't know I was making then, but I recognize them now, that should make you feel confident and proud to see that you have progressed and you are growing and you're becoming a better writer. And that means this book is going to be 10 times better. Like that's a good thing. So now a lot of people freak out when I say this, but now the edit is actually my favorite part of the process because it shows me how far I've come since I started. And it's like a confidence boost in that way. And then when I do the professional edit, my editor shows me all these things I didn't know. And I think, oh my gosh, like I'm going to be even better, you know, like I'm just, you know, moving on up, you know? So I think if you look at it in that way and you think about all the skills you're honing, it makes that process way better, because most people look at it like look how stupid I am. But I think the real stupidity is if you go to edit your manuscript and you see no mistakes. That's the problem. If you go to edit it and you're like, it looks perfect, that's when you should be worried, because that means you haven't grown at all. And that's an issue. Just saying.
And so many parallels to life. Again, like when you look back at the last 5 years, but fuck, last 6 months for me, shit. Just look at myself like, wow, pat yourself on the damn back, man. Growing so much. And there are growing pains. There are things that are going to tick you off during the editing process. I edit my life frequently. I look around and like, that's no longer reflective of where I want to be.
Right.
Move on. And, you know, I kind of wanted to add something silly. You know, you mentioned that you're Sicilian. Did Cliff ever have and I'm only asking this because I know how like humorous he is. Did he ever say to you like, okay, Jenna, level with me now? Do you have family in the mafioso?
No, but it's funny because my extended family on my dad's side, like all my uncles, they look kind of mafia-like. They're like these big Sicilian guys, and they wear the suits, and they look like they belong in the mafia. So I would always joke with him that like, oh, like you're gonna meet my like mafioso uncles. But the thing is that my dad's side is Sicilian, Puerto Rican, and Cuban. And these are kind of, at least from my experience, these are shorter ethnicities. And Cliff is 6'2", and I'm the tall one in my family. I have a cousin who's 4'10", you know, so for reference, I'm 5'9", so I tower over everyone. And it's just funny because they're these like intimidating looking uncles, but they're short. And Cliff shows up, and you know, he gets in the family photo, and it's just like all these short Sicilians, and then there's me, and then there's Cliff, you know? So it's a little bit hard to be intimidated in that situation when you're like standing out and you're staring over at the top of everyone's heads, you know? So it's kind of funny in that way, and everyone's like looking up at him. And it's funny because he's the short one in his family. Like his brothers are like 6'4". Like, oh, I'm only 6'2". Like my uncles would dream like that would be their, you know, so it's kind of funny in that way.
I don't know why I wanted to add that in, but you know, just the whole, anytime someone mentions Sicilian, the only two things that come up for me is food and The Godfather.
Yeah.
Yo, okay. There's the last thing I wanted to ask you, because it's been on my mind for a long time, right? So there's this thing we've talked about doing things for the right reasons, taking your time with it. But you also said the important thing is you don't want to spend 7 years making one book. And, you know, we look at things like the published works of I'm going to get their names wrong now. I was about to say J.R.R. Tolkien, George R.R. Martin, whatever, man. The names are not rolling off my tongue today, whatever. You've got these people that have done tremendously well. And, you know, a lot of us, we inspire to be like them. I want to release a book and, you know, want it to perform like, what's his name? Tim Ferriss, Malcolm Gladwell, whatever. I wanted to change the tide of the general consensus, and I want to challenge the man, and blah, blah, blah. There's a certain amount of romanticism that comes with that thinking. And how do we, you know, I'll ask you, I want your opinion on like, how do you know when you're BSing yourself to the point where you've romanticized your idea too much and you're not really putting in enough, not putting in enough work, but there's a difference between being realistic and managing your expectations. And it's great to shoot for the stars because you're going to end up among the clouds or whatever the saying is. But what's the balance there?
This is an interesting question because it's not a question that I get a lot, but I get a lot of people asking what I feel like is a related question, and they'll be like, what author has inspired you? Who's your favorite author? What author do you try to emulate? And I am always honest and say, no author has inspired me to write. I was inspired to write because I enjoy storytelling. Like that's why I got into it. I don't have a favorite author. There are lots of authors that I adore and respect, but I can't say that I have a favorite. And there's no author that I want to emulate because I'm just trying to write the stories I want to write. I'm not thinking about another person's process. And whenever I say this, people are always like, oh, that's not true. That's not believable. Every writer is inspired by an author. Like every writer apparently got into writing because of some book. That's not true. I don't think I know a single writer in my circle who got into writing because of a book or because of an author. Every writer in my circle got into it because they really like storytelling. They just like to write. You know, it's possible for that to be the motivation. And I think when you put a particular author on a pedestal, and then you say like, I want to be the next, I hear this a lot. I want to be the next J.K. Rowling. I want to inspire as much passion in readers as her. First of all, you're setting yourself up for failure because there's only one of her in, several decades. So you are putting yourself up against the pinnacle of a generation, and you're like, I avoid saying it's impossible, but the odds of it happening are less than 1%. Like, so you're setting yourself up for failure. And second of all, I just think it's dangerous in general to idolize people to the point of seeing them as perfection and flawless, because when they fall, it's going to hit hard. I'm not weighing in with my opinions or anything like that, but there's been a lot of like controversy with J.K. Rowling specifically lately. And there are a lot of people who are like devastated by it to see that their idol did something they disagree with. And then it's like, well, you know what? They're human people. And that means that they're flawed and that they fuck up. And I'm not condoning, the controversy or anything like that. I'm not saying I agree or disagree. My point is just that I think it's important to recognize that authors are human beings, which means that they might be pieces of shit, even if you love their work, and they might be amazing people, even if you love their work. Like it's a crapshoot. They might be awesome, they might be awful, they might be somewhere in between. And that's how I've always looked at authors. And that's how I've always looked at books. Even the books I love, I recognize that they're not flawless. There are lots of books that I've loved dearly, but I can still be like, yeah, this part wasn't very great, or yeah, this author was super arrogant and full of himself, but I still love the work. And I think that has been the difference for me, is that I never romanticized other people's books, and I never romanticized people in general, because I see people as capable of being flawed and fucking up. And I think when you're able to disconnect yourself in that way, it's a lot easier to write for the right reasons, and you're writing for yourself. And you don't want to be the next J.K. Rowling, you want to be the next Jenna Moreci. I mean, speaking as me, not someone else. Like, I wouldn't condone someone else being like, I'm going to be like Jenna. You should be trying to be the best version of yourself, is what I'm saying. And I think that sort of taking a realistic look at your idols and realizing that they are not that, they're human just like you are, that is sort of the difference. Like realizing that they write shit sometimes too, and maybe they're shitty people sometimes too. That, I think, is what it takes to get people to stop being like, I'm gonna aspire for this level. You gotta stop and realize that they're people, they're human beings, and they probably sucked at writing at some point too, just like you.
Dude, it comes to mind. I can't remember who said this. I don't think I made it up, but I said it a while ago. Like, someone said, I want to be the next Tony Robbins. I was like, man, fuck that. I want to be the first me. I want to make a very different impact here. Yeah. And, I just, out of curiosity, what was the controversy with J.K. Rowling?
Oh, there's been a ton of stuff, especially recently. I feel bad because I'm not trying to stir the pot or anything. There's a lot of issues surrounding the most recent, like, Fantastic Beasts movie, and her supporting Johnny Depp after he had the alleged spousal abuse allegations and a lot of issues with possible racism and things like that. Again, not weighing in with my personal thoughts and opinions because honestly, I'm not a huge Harry Potter fan. I don't know much about that universe. And so when these controversies pop up, I hear about it vaguely, but I don't research it much because it's not like it's not in my fandom. It's not in my area of interest. Like, I've never seen the Fantastic Beasts movie, and I probably never will because it just doesn't interest me. So that's why it'd be kind of, I feel like it'd be negligent of me to be like, this is what I think about it, because I really don't know what the fuck is going on. I just know that there's been issues with people feeling like she might be promoting problematic racial stereotypes and issues with her supporting someone who's been accused of spousal abuse. But again, I haven't researched it enough to feel like, you know, this is how it is, you know.
Yeah.
Here's my
You know, I think this is the day and age that we're in, man. Unfortunately, people just love to jump on the morality bandwagon of, I sniffed a little bit of something that you might have done, so let me just jump on your ass real quick. And you know, me, I'm full of unpopular opinions, man. I just say shit all the time. It just comes out like whenever. Like this is my take on it. If you don't like that, it's got nothing to do with me. But unfortunately, I don't know what it is, man. I would like your opinion on it too, but like, what do you think someone gets out of like, okay, I don't know whether this has happened or not, but I'm gonna jump on the, well, I don't know what it is. It's I can't remember what the word is, but basically, like, let's pick me for example. Someone says Sachin threw an orange at someone's face, and no one saw it. No one's got documented evidence of it, but you know, we think it happened, and then people who have no idea about it will be like, yeah, fuck you. You're against oranges. You're against Oompa Loompas. Like, fuck you, man. How dare you do that? Like, what do you think people are trying to gain from doing that?
Well, if it's honest and what happened, it really did happen, then I think that they're, you know, trying to do the right thing. That they're trying to be like, hey, an injustice happened, an orange injustice, and we're trying to expose it and do the right thing. Yeah. If it's a lie, I think it can come from a lot of different places. Like, I think it can come from jealousy over how well someone's doing and someone's platform. I think it can come from just like being bored and stirring the pot. I think it can come from feeling inadequate, you know, and feeling like this person's so much, well, I guess this is kind of jealousy too, but inadequacy and jealousy are a little bit different, but it's like, this person is so much better than I am and I want to like take them down a peg, you know. I think it can come from a lot of things, but what I try to practice personally is that, and this is something that I would recommend to a lot of people, like, if you don't know what the fuck you're talking about, then don't talk about it. So like I said with the whole JK Rowling thing, I know what the controversy is like centered on. Like, I know a lot of people had issues with Nagini, and I know a lot of people had issues with Johnny Depp, but like I said, I don't read Harry Potter. I read like the first couple of books when I was a kid, but I think I read the first 4 books, and by the time the 5th one came out, I was 16, and I had moved on to, like, at that time I was reading like Dante's Inferno. Like, I had moved on to shit that was a lot darker. So I wasn't really interested in child wizards. And not a dig at people who are, it just wasn't my thing, you know? And it's still not really my thing. So I'm not part of this crowd. I don't know anything really about JK Rowling because I'm not, you know, into this fandom. I don't know stuff about what a Patronus is. I think that's like an animal, I don't know. It's an animal thing. So when all this stuff is happening, I don't really like go out of my way to research it because this is not, to me, it doesn't concern me. So then when people ask my opinion on it, I don't know, you know, I'm just kind of like, well, I don't really know what's going on. So I don't feel qualified to say she's racist or no, she's not, you're picking on her. I don't really feel qualified because I don't know anything about it. And I think that a lot of people are really quick to like have an opinion, and it's kind of like, it's okay to not have an opinion if you genuinely don't know what's going on, you know? And I think some people don't embrace the fact that there's nothing wrong with admitting your ignorance, in the sense that, like, I really have no fucking idea. I don't even know what the names of most of the Harry Potter books are. I don't know anything about J.K. Rowling, so I can't really say this is the kind of person she is. I just don't fucking know. Like, I don't know. I'm ignorant to the situation. So, you know, what can I contribute that would be worthwhile? Nothing. And so in situations like that, I think it's, if you genuinely have an informed opinion or you're like providing information that's honest, you know, then I think you should definitely speak up. And I think that shitty people should be put on blast. Like, you know, like if someone's doing something shitty, I think they, you know, deserve to be put on blast for it. And if you have no idea, then just say I have no idea, and then shut up, you know? That's just
I think they did the right thing with Kevin Spacey, though, right? Like, I can't remember. I don't watch TV. I don't really watch the news. I see snippets on YouTube where people are talking about shit, but I don't really click on it. But I saw that they took him off the show that he was on. Apparently, he's doing some shit with kids. As a person who suffered with that shit when I was a kid, yeah, fuck you, Kevin Spacey. But at the same time, like, I don't know the dude, man. I don't know if it's true. I don't know anything about that situation. So I kind of take that fuck you back, but at the same time, there's no smoke without fire. So I'm not really sure, man.
Well,
and
I think it. Oh, sorry. I think it's a little bit different when there are like so many people coming forward and there's so much like substantial, you know, evidence and stuff. Like, to me, that it's not really the same as it. That was more objective. And there are certain things that are more subjective. And also it's a little bit different, because I'm not saying people aren't allowed to have an opinion. Like, I haven't read a single article about any of the controversies with J.K. Rowling. So it's hard for me to have an opinion when all I know is what my friends have told me. You know what I mean? If I read the articles and I saw both sides, it would be a lot easier for me to form an opinion. And I think that if you have an opinion, you are more than welcome to voice it. My point is mostly that, like, if you don't know what's going on, you don't have to throw your hat in. You know what I mean? Like, because a lot of people who are, you know, speaking up about, you know, injustices and things like that are people who don't have the firsthand experience with it. But I think that it's also important for people to speak up on behalf of others. You know, I think it's important to, you know, believe victims and stuff. And so, like with the Kevin Spacey thing, I think it's important for, even if you don't know 100% the truth, like, it's important if you have read the articles and you have seen both sides and there is substantial evidence, I think it's important to support victims and things like that, because, you know, especially for such a long time, you know, people have felt like they couldn't come forward about the injustices they face. And I think that it's good to let people know that you're on their side and you believe them, even though you weren't in the room, you know? So I don't know if that sounds contradictory to what I was saying before, but like, my point before was that if I'm not reading about the shit and all I know is like word of mouth from like a friend who has an opinion, I'm not feeling like a expert on the topic, you know what I mean? And I'm not feeling qualified to really be like, here's my opinion. But if I'm like looking into something and, you know, I'm actually reading the articles and things like that, I think it's fine to have an opinion. And I do think it's important to, you know, support victims, you know, especially for issues that are so common. And in this case, it's, you know, like sexual abuse. It's a lot more common than I think people assume. So I think that's something where it's good to rally behind victims and stuff and give them a voice. That's just my opinion.
No, that's real shit, man. And I think that's why, like, I'm very vocal about all of my shit, because I want people to know, like, if no one believes you or if it's very difficult, like, you got a space to talk about it. And I think that's half the battle. Or like, me personally, I've repressed my shit for years because no one believed me in the beginning. They were like, hey, shut the fuck up. We don't want to talk about that. It's uncomfortable. You're making us weird. No. And I think, like, definitely people would say that social justice, again, I'm very ignorant to a lot of these terms. I would admit all the time, I don't know a lot about what's going on out there. because I'm very much focused on talking about what I do know. Like, we're the experts on our own lives, is the way I refer to it, right? No one else is living in here. So I don't know what happened May the 14th, 2003 at 9:56 p.m. I have no idea, but you definitely do. And this is something that I think is really important for all of us, is like sharing our experiences with the intention of like, yeah, you've suffered some stuff. I can relate, and I can definitely like empathize on where you're coming from. And this is how I've progressed from that place. And the victims of these things, like especially with sexual abuse, man, it's ridiculously common. And I think it like, and we're getting really off topic right now, but I just think it's the power trip, man. You know, I know I shouldn't have said it, but there was a time I said to this guy, like, he was seeking power over people who were like drugged up and stuff. I'm like, you probably can't satisfy your wife, can you? And he just got so angry. I was like, bro, if you can't get an erection, like, just go and take the pills. Or she's probably having, probably with someone else right now. That's probably why you're here, bro. And they don't want to hear it. It's a very like, I remember questioning pedophiles on their actions. They don't want to hear it. Questioning the child molesters on their actions. Don't want to hear it. Don't want to ask why. Don't want to be like facing themselves with it. And I think,
Right.
you know, as someone who's experienced the shit, I always say to other people who have, if you don't confront your shit, you will turn into them. And it's not like suddenly I want to hurt children. It's a gradual thing that manifests over a long time. It's like we were talking about the sauce cooking with the flavor. This is a very different sauce, man. It's a very dark thing. If you don't talk about it, it turns like from the drug use that will turn over time to, okay, I want to hurt other people because I can't express the shit. We got real dark real quick there. But I think I think it's important to talk about these things and make sure that people don't feel like it's wrong and anything like that, because that's where we get these problems in society. Whoa, we're getting really into something else now.
No, but I understand where you're coming from, and I agree. That's one of the reasons that I talk so openly about mental illness on my channel, is because for a long time I had no one I could talk about it with, and anytime I brought it up, I was looked at like I was crazy, you know. And now I'm at a point where I don't really care what people think of me, you know. I mean, like, I care if people think I'm a bad person because I genuinely did something bad, you know, then I care and I want to improve myself. But I don't care if someone thinks I'm crazy because I suffer from depression and anxiety, you know. And I know I'm not saying this is the same as sexual abuse in the slightest. I know it's apples and oranges. But that's one of the reasons why I talk so freely about it on my platform, is because I didn't have anyone to talk with, and everyone, when I did talk about it, they acted like it was like major and something hugely dysfunctional about me. And it wasn't until I got older that I realized that, like, so many people, I don't have a statistic, but pretty much everyone I know has some form of mental illness. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if the figure is like 90% of people have some kind of mental illness, you know, but I'm sure that's not the figure. But it became so obvious how prevalent it was, and that made it seem so stupid that no one wants to talk about it and everyone is stigmatizing it. So I was like, well, I'm just going to talk about it like it's no big deal, because clearly it's not that big of a deal if so many people suffer from it. And it's stupid that people are feeling so dysfunctional and alone because they're experiencing it, when meanwhile millions and billions of other people are experiencing it too. So I'm going to talk about it like it's a normal thing, because it is a normal thing. You know, it's, my anxiety affects me, you know, the same way that my asthma affects me. And if no one, you know, bats an eyelash over my asthma, they shouldn't bat an eyelash over my anxiety. And I've had a lot of people write me saying how much they appreciate the fact that I'm, you know, open about it, because it's made them feel more comfortable seeking out medication, because I talk about the medication that I'm on, or it makes them feel more comfortable seeing a therapist or talking about it with other people. And again, it's definitely not at all the same thing as sexual abuse, but I think if more people talk about their experiences with it, it's like a weight lifted for other people. Because when I was younger, if just one person told me, oh yeah, I have depression too, like, this is what you can do about it, and they just acted like it wasn't they just made me feel like I wasn't like flawed and broken because of it. And they just made me feel like, oh yeah, happens to me too. Like that would have been huge for me. And I think, you know, the more people are open about things that are stigmatized or you're told not to talk about it, I think that can be very cathartic for a lot of people, you know, and I think it can help a
100%.
lot.
Well, yeah, I think there's so many parallels between what you're describing, what I've described on what my own experience is. I think like it's that shame, right? Like, oh, there's something wrong with me. Oh, I can't interact with society. Yeah, you fucking surprised, bro. Like you got a lot of shit unsaid, and people around you are telling you no, like that's wrong. Don't talk about it. I'm like my community that I come from. Mental health doesn't exist. If there's nothing physically wrong with, I remember like I said to him, I think I said to my uncle once, like, I am fucked up about something in here. He's like, there's nothing wrong with you. Stop being a bitch and go to work. I was like, okay. Well, that's fine then. Problem solved.
Right. I'm cured. All better.
Oh my God. And you know that, yeah, I think that it's really important that we have these conversations and that people don't feel like, oh, I'm fucked up because of it. There's so many things that are fucked up that we do talk about quite openly compared to these things. Like, you know, we talk openly about the fact that we promote things in society that are quite bad for people, and that's perfectly fine. But, you know, if you want to talk about these things, no. And I think the things about people seeking out help and shame surrounding that, that's quite difficult too. And I'm really glad people like yourself out here with a positive message, doing the things that you're doing. You definitely encouraged me when I was a bit younger. Like, I was very hot-headed, and to look up, to have someone like you to look up to, who's, you know, you've experienced a lot of things that's crushed a lot of people. You know, they crushed their dreams. Working in somewhere they don't want to work, or following the passion that they really have. It's really inspiring for me, for other people. And like I said in the last podcast we did, I wouldn't be doing any of this shit. None of it. It wouldn't have started the blog or any of that. And I wouldn't have kept it going if you weren't doing what you're doing, man. And let's not cry like we did last time, because Jenna, on that note, it's been fucking amazing talking with you as usual. What do you want to do? What do you want to plug, or what do you want to direct people towards that you want them to pay attention to?
Well, I'm so glad you asked. My most recently released novel is The Savior's Champion, which is right over here. It is a dark fantasy action romance, and it came out about 6 months ago. It's available in ebook, hardback, signed hardback, and paperback. So definitely pick it up. It's all over the place. It's on Amazon. It's at Barnes & Noble. It's everywhere. And we are currently in production for the audiobook. My narrator is Nick Denton. He is amazing. I would listen to him read my grocery list. He's so good. And I'm super excited about that. We're hoping to get that out around February. That's the goal. I will keep everyone posted. And I am currently working on the companion novel, which is The Savior's Sister. So keep an eye out for that as well, because it's in the process.
Awesome. I saw the clip of the guy doing the audio, but I was like, whoa, what's this? It sounds like he's like, yeah, it sounded so crazy. Like he's a great voice actor. Is that what they call it?
He is. He's so good. I mean, like, a lot of amazing people auditioned, but when I heard his audition, I was like, oh my gosh. Like, I showed Cliff and I was like, listen to this guy. He's just, oh my gosh, he's so incredible. And what's even better is it's hard when you like have to hire someone to, you know, work on your baby, you know, you want them to do it justice, but he is like so nice, like one of the nicest people I've ever met. And he is so passionate about the project. Like, before auditioning, he watched all of my YouTube videos about the Savior's Champion so that he could get all of the pronunciations of the names right. He was the only narrator that I can think of who pronounced Kaleo, the villain. he's the only one who pronounced his name right. And I was like, oh my gosh, he got his name. And he was like, yeah, I watched your YouTube videos. And he did his research, and he's read the book, obviously. And he's just genuinely passionate about the project and genuinely wants, the audiobook to reflect that. And it's been like such a joy working with him. So not only is he amazingly talented, but he's just like a pleasure, because it's not always that way, let me tell you.
Another shining example of someone who cares about what they're doing, and it sounds like they're doing it for the right reasons.
Right, exactly. Thank God. I was nervous. I would get an audiobook narrator who's just phoning it in, but that is not the case. So Nick Denton is amazing, and I adore him.
Yeah, thank you so much, Jenna. I really enjoyed our chat today, and I really want to encourage everyone who hasn't checked out your channel to just, whatever you're doing, whatever the journey is that you're on. There's so many valuable videos that you've made, so many things that I'm gonna keep blowing smoke around everywhere now. But yeah, there's so many things that I've learned from your channel, and I really, really highly recommend everyone to check it out. All of the links are going to be in the description. Make sure you're checking those out. Thank you everyone for tuning in. You can catch the podcast every single week. I'm back. No more breaks. Thank you all for joining us. We'll see you next week. Peace.